Hello dear students. So today we are on the last part of the chapter alcohol, phenol and ethers. Till now we have studied about alcohols. In the last video we have studied about phenol. Today we are going to discuss the last functional group from this chapter, that is ethers. The ethers have general formula ROR-. So two alkyl groups are joined by a single atom of oxygen, and this oxygen we can call it as ethereal oxygen. The ethers, they are classified in two categories. So first one, classification of ether. On the basis of alkyl group. On the basis of alkyl group, the ether can be classified into two categories. One is symmetrical ether. And another is unsymmetrical ether. Symmetrical ether will be called when both these alkyl groups are same. In that case, it will be called as symmetrical ether. For example, methoxymethane. In this case, both alkyl groups which are attached to ethereal oxygen atom, they are same, and therefore it is called as symmetrical ether. Now, unsymmetrical ether, that means both these alkyl groups which are attached to ethereal oxygen atom, they are not same. For example, CH3O, C3H7, I will say 1-methoxypropane. So that was the classification of ethers on the basis of alkyl group. Now classification of ethers on the basis of substituent, or I will say nature of substituent. In this category, we can classify ethers into dialkyl ether and aryl ether. That means when ethereal oxygen is attached to two alkyl groups, then it will be called as dialkyl ether. In one way, I will say dialkyl ethers are further classified into symmetrical and unsymmetrical ether. Aryl ether, in this, the aryl group is attached with ethereal oxygen and that is attached to one alkyl group. For example, benzene group attached to ethereal oxygen and alkyl group. Its common name is anisole, also called as methoxybenzene. Dialkyl ether, their examples already we have seen. The next topic is IUPAC nomenclature of ether. The IUPAC nomenclature of ether is very interesting. According to IUPAC nomenclature, ethers are named as alkoxyalkane. Now, since there are two alkyl groups attached to ether, this we have already seen. Now, how we can take the alkyl group, or which alkyl group to be chosen as the parent hydrocarbon? So, the larger alkyl group is always taken as the parent hydrocarbon, or it is taken as the word root. Whereas the lower alkyl group, it is taken to be attached with ethereal oxygen atom and it forms alkoxy. For example, this one, CH3O, CH2, CH3. Now, this alkyl group, which is ethyl one, that will be taken as parent hydrocarbon and this will be taken as alkoxy, and therefore the name becomes methoxyethane. It can be also labeled as 1-methoxyethane. Now the second one, in this case, This 4 carbon atom, this being the larger alkyl group, will be taken as a parent hydrocarbon, and this ethyl group will be taken as alkoxy, or I will say ethoxy. Now as you can see, in every nomenclature I have given the numbering. In your board exam also, IUPAC nomenclature is one of the sure question, and while writing answers of these questions, it's always better if you write the structure, number it, and then write the answer. Whether the question is to write the name from the formula or to write the formula from the name, in both vice versa type of questions, it's always better to give the numbering. So here it will become 2-ethoxybutane. Now in the second case, this becomes the largest alkyl group, and therefore it is taken as a word root. It becomes pentane, and this becomes alkoxy, being the smaller alkyl group. Therefore the name is 2-methoxypentane. In next example, there are two functional groups. We know the priority order or the seniority order which you have studied in class 11, and therefore the numbering will start from here, and this 4 carbon atom will be taken as parent hydrocarbon. So it becomes 4-methoxybutane 2-ol. Now if you move to nomenclature of aryl ethers, this can be named as methoxybenzene. Benzene will be taken as the parent hydrocarbon, or it is commonly known as anisole. And for aryl ethers, both the nomenclatures are allowed, and most of the times we are using the common name. In the second example, as already I told you, benzene becomes parent hydrocarbon, so for benzene, and ethyl becomes the smaller alkyl group, so name becomes ethoxybenzene. Let us have a look how the alkyl groups are attached to ethereal oxygen atom. The structure of ether can be compared with that of water molecule. Oxygen in both cases being sp3 hybridized and bent V shape. Being sp3 hybridized, they are arranged in tetrahedral fashion, but there is a difference in bond angle. We know the normal tetrahedral bond angle is 109 degree. In water, it gets reduced to 104.5 degree due to repulsion between two lone pairs. And this is of alcohol, which we have already seen in our last videos. And now when coming to ether, this ethereal oxygen is attached to two bulky alkyl groups, and these bulky alkyl groups produce a repulsive interaction. As a result, the bond angle in ether is greater than that of normal. Now how much? The bond angle goes to approximately 110 degrees Celsius. 110 degree. So this is one of the important give reason question. Why bond angle in ether is slightly greater than that of normal tetrahedral bond angle. So let us discuss now the preparation method for alcohols. We are discussing the first method from dehydration of alcohols. Generally 1 degree alcohol, if they are treated with acids like H2SO4 at 413 Kelvin, we get ether. I have taken the example of ethanol. When it is treated with H2SO4 at 413 Kelvin, we get ethoxy ether, and the process is called as continuous etherification process. Continuous etherification process. But if the same reaction we are carrying out, the same treatment with H2SO4 we are carrying out at higher temperature 443 Kelvin, then we get ethene, the mechanism of which we have already discussed in our last videos. So we are going to discuss now this one, conversion of alcohol to ether by using H2SO4 at 413 Kelvin. Till now we have seen different mechanism. We have seen preparation of alcohol from alkene. We have seen conversion of alkene to alcohol, and this is the next mechanism, conversion of alcohol to ether. Again, it's an important question for 2 mark. One of the mechanism is a sure question in your board exams. Again, this mechanism will proceed in 3 steps. The very first step is the protonation of alcohol, which is the same one as we have discussed in conversion of alcohol to alkene. Since it is acidic dehydration, the acid will form H plus ion, and this H plus ion, when treated with alcohol, will form protonated alcohol. The lone pair of electron moves like this. And in the second step, there is a nucleophilic attack by another alcohol molecule, followed by the elimination of water. This protonated alcohol is treated with one more molecule of alcohol. Now, the movement is like this, and the attack will be from this side. So this will become ethereal oxygen, and this water molecule will be removed. Now we get oxonium ion, where ethereal oxygen is attached with 2 alkyl groups. And in the third step, it is deprotonation. There is a positive charge on oxygen atom that will be removed. This hydrogen will be removed. That is what we call as deprotonation, and it will form ether. This is ethoxyethane. In your board exams, you have to follow the same pattern. There is an importance of arrows in your board exams. If you don't draw these arrows, we call it as curved notations. If you don't represent your answer with the help of curved notation, you lose your marks. Now there are certain conditions when we are preparing ether from alcohol. We have discussed this reaction, we have discussed this mechanism. But first condition, the temperature must be low. The temperature must be 413 Kelvin itself. Otherwise, what happens at higher temperature? The reaction will follow this path and alkene will be formed. The second condition is that alkyl group must be unhindered. There should not be any steric hindrance. That means I will say this method is a better method, or it is a suitable method for 1 degree alkyl group. If 2 degree or 3 degree alkyl group ether we need to prepare, then in that case the reaction mechanism follows SN1 path. These 3 conditions you have to take care. Now in your exam, whenever this question is asked as a complete question, you have to pay attention to the temperature. If the temperature is 413 Kelvin, ether will be formed, and if the temperature is 443, then alkene will be formed. The next method is Williamson ether synthesis, about which we have already studied in the chapter haloalkanes. Any alkyl halide, when it is treated with sodium alkoxide, then it will form ether along with sodium halide. I will say there is a del plus charge on alkyl group, del minus charge on halogen. Similarly, here there are charges. This sodium halide will be removed as a byproduct and will get ether. For example, chloroethane, when treated with sodium ethoxide, as I have shown, sodium chloride will be removed. Charges will be as per the previous one itself, giving us ethoxyethane plus sodium chloride. This was 1 degree. Both are 1 degree. Now let us take the example where sodium alkoxide is 3 degree. Tertiary sodium bitoxide, when treated with bromoethane, will give us 3 degree ether as shown. The cleavage will be of sodium and here of bromide, giving us sodium bromide. But again, there are many things which we need to keep in mind for this reaction. The better results are obtained if we take 1 degree alkyl halide. Now why? As the reaction follows SN2 path, and we know SN2 proceeds in a better way with 1 degree alkyl halide, and therefore the better results will be obtained when we are using 1 degree alkyl halide. If we are using 2 degree or 3 degree alkyl halide, then sometimes there is a competition between elimination and substitution, and therefore instead of ether, alkene is formed, and that's why we say generally better results are obtained with 1 degree alkyl halide. And this condition, whatever I have told you, it is generally for unsymmetrical ether. So this we're discussing about dialkyl ether. Suppose I want to prepare aryl ether, then what will be the method followed? So for the preparation of aryl ethers, we take sodium phenoxide. We take sodium phenoxide and that we treat with alkyl halide. Again we'll discuss about the separation of the charges, del minus, del plus, and sodium and bromine will be formed as a byproduct, and we'll get anisole or methoxybenzene as the main product. Let us take one more example. Sodium phenoxide, when treated with chloroethane, we get ethoxybenzene. Now choice of proper alkyl groups in the preparation of ether is important, especially in Williamson ether synthesis. Many times question is framed, choose the proper alkyl halide or choose proper sodium alkoxide for the preparation of a given ether. The physical properties of ether, if we look at physical state, the lower members are gases and the higher members are generally low boiling liquid with a pleasant smell. We call it as ethereal smell. Dipole moment. Ether is one of that organic compound which will have dipole moment. Just now we have seen that ether have bent structure and therefore there will be dipole moment. Oxygen have two lone pair and therefore all the vectors will get added up. They will not get cancelled out. Carbon oxygen bond becomes polar. As a result, ether develop dipole moment. Now boiling point. Ether do not form any intermolecular hydrogen bonding. As we have seen in alcohol, that alcohol form intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Even phenol form intermolecular hydrogen bonding. But ether do not form any hydrogen bonding because of absence of hydrogen here. And therefore ethers will have low boiling point when it is compared to isomeric alcohol. We know alcohol and ethers are functional isomers. and it is almost same as that of alkanes of the comparable molecular mass. I will say N alkanes. For example, I have taken here diethyl ether. Its boiling point is 307.6 Kelvin, and N-butyl alcohol, which is the isomer of diethyl ether of the same molecular mass, boiling point is 390 Kelvin. There is a great difference. But there are certain changes as the number of alkyl group increases. The boiling point of ether increases with increase in number of carbon atom. Now why? As there is a weak dipole-dipole forces, boiling point of lower ether will be slightly higher than those of corresponding N-alkane. For example, methoxymethane, whose boiling point is 46, and propane, whose boiling point is, molecular mass is 44. So both are of same molecular mass, but there is a difference. Methoxymethane boiling point is 250 Kelvin, and this boiling point of propane is 233 Kelvin. However, as the hydrocarbon part increases, that is, if the alkyl group goes beyond 4 carbon atoms, the van der Waals forces of attraction in ether becomes much more weak, and therefore it is easy to break down them, the intermolecular force of attraction. As a result, their boiling point are less than those of N-alkanes of comparable molecular mass. For example, C2H5O C4H9, whose molecular mass is 102. I am comparing it with N-heptane with same molecular mass 100. But there is a difference. Boiling point of ether is 366 Kelvin, and that of N-heptane is quite higher, 371 Kelvin. Now the last physical property is solubility. Ether can form a hydrogen bond with water, and therefore ethers are water soluble. Ether themselves are good solvent, especially for organic compounds. Non-polar one can easily dissolve in ethers. When we discuss chemical properties of ethers, ethers are generally chemically inert. Now why they are chemically inert? Because the divalent oxygen is linked to carbon atom on both the sides, and therefore there is no active site. Therefore there is no active site for the attack for different reagents, and therefore ethers are chemically inert. Now there is a cleavage of carbon oxygen bond either from this side, or it will be from this side. It will depend on the alkyl group. How that will depend on the alkyl group, that we are going to discuss now. So it is the cleavage of carbon oxygen bond in ether that we are going to discuss. So ether, when treated with hydrogen halide, will form haloalkane and alcohol. The cleavage will take place here. Okay. And for example, methoxymethane, when treated with hydrogen iodide, hydrogen goes to ethereal oxygen atom and halogen goes to alkyl group, forming iodomethane and methanol. Now in case we are using excess hydrogen halide, further reaction will take place. The alcohol formed will react with hydrogen halide because it is in excess, forming haloalkane. Now the order of reactivity is hydrogen iodide is highly reactive. That means when we are using hydrogen iodide, in this case the reaction becomes much more faster. HBr least and HCl the least. Now there are three different conditions for this reaction. The first condition, when the alkyl group is 3 degree, for example tertiary sodium butoxide, when treated with hydrogen iodide, the cleavage will take place at tertiary carbon atom. As 3 degree carbocation, it will form 3 degree carbocation, and we know 3-degree carbocation is the most stable one, and therefore halogen part will go to that 3-degree carbocation, forming halide of 3-degree part, and the alcohol will be formed from the other alkyl group. The second condition, in case of unsymmetrical ether, the halide of lower alkyl group is formed. So suppose I am using ethoxyethane, the separation of the charges, the cleavage between hydrogen and halide part, and the cleavage between lower alkyl group and ethereal oxygen along with the larger alkyl group. The halide will move to lower alkyl group, forming iodomethane, and will get alcohol of the higher alkyl part. Third condition. Now when we are using aryl ether, the cleavage of this OR takes place. The cleavage of any group which is attached directly to benzene ring is always difficult because it is attached to sp2 hybridized carbon atom. It develops a partial double bond character. Now when it is treated with hydrogen halide, the cleavage takes place and we always get phenol along with haloalkane. So this condition you have to remember that whenever we are carrying out the reaction of aryl ether with hydrogen halide, phenol is always the product because the cleavage of this O carbon which is attached to benzene will be difficult as it is attached to sp2 hybridized carbon atom. Cleavage of always this bond will take place, resulting in the formation of phenol. And this is the reason that when even if excess hydrogen halide is used, further reaction will not take place. Further reaction will not take place because this group is attached to again sp2 hybridized carbon atom. So the last topic of chapter alcohol, phenol and ethers is electrophilic substitution in aromatic ethers. All the reactions I have shown in a flow chart here, and I have taken the example of anisole. We know electrophilic substitution reaction. One is halogenation, another is nitration, Friedel-Crafts alkylation and Friedel-Crafts acylation. So halogenation, when anisole is treated with bromine ethanoic acid, we get ortho and para substituted product. Ortho-bromoanisole, para-bromoanisole, para being the major product. When we carry out nitration of anisole by using nitrating mixture, we get ortho-nitroanisole, para-nitroanisole, again para being the major product because of its symmetrical structure. It fits in crystal lattice properly and therefore it is the major product. Now Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction of anisole, we get 2-methoxytoluene and 4-methoxytoluene, again para being the major product. When we carry out Friedel-Crafts acylation of anisole using acyl chloride in presence of Lewis acid like anhydrous AlCl3, we get again ortho and para substituted product. One will be 2-methoxyacetophenone and 4-methoxyacetophenone, these being the major product. Now among all these reactions, one Friedel-Crafts alkylation and Friedel-Crafts acylation are the frequently asked reactions in the board exams. With this, we have completed the chapter alcohol, phenol and ether. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Happy learning.